Some rivalries are built over championships. Others are built over respect. But the rivalry between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins was born from something much more painful: betrayal. Every time these two men step into the same ring, millions of WWE fans remember one single moment that changed professional wrestling forever. It wasn't a WrestleMania main event. It wasn't a championship victory. It wasn't even a Royal Rumble. It was one steel chair shot that destroyed a brotherhood and created an enemy Roman Reigns would never truly forgive. Years have passed since that unforgettable night. Championships have changed hands. Legends have retired. Entire eras have come and gone. Roman Reigns became the tribal chief and ruled WWE like no one before him, while Seth Rollins transformed himself into one of the most unpredictable and respected superstars in the business. Yet despite everything they achieved, neither man was ever able to escape the past. Because some betrayals don't fade with time. They only grow stronger. And now, with another collision waiting at SummerSlam, the question isn't who is stronger. The real question is whether Roman Reigns can finally close the chapter that has haunted him for more than a decade, or whether Seth Rollins will once again remind the world why he has always been Roman's greatest weakness. To understand why this rivalry means so much, we have to go back to a time before Roman Reigns was the tribal chief, before Seth Rollins became the visionary, and before either man stood at the top of WWE. Back in 2012, WWE was searching for its next generation of stars. Nobody expected that generation to arrive together. At Survivor Series, 3 unknown men dressed in black stormed through the crowd and attacked Ryback during the WWE Championship match. Their arrival shocked the entire industry. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose introduced themselves to the world with one clear message: WWE would never be the same again. The Shield wasn't just another faction. They felt real. They fought together, entered through the crowd together, and protected each other no matter what stood in their way. Roman was the unstoppable powerhouse. Seth was the brilliant strategist who always seemed one step ahead. Dean Ambrose was the unpredictable fighter who thrived in chaos. Alone, each man had incredible potential. Together, they looked unstoppable. Every week, they dismantled opponents with military-like precision, ending matches with the triple powerbomb before walking away through the crowd as if they had completed another mission. Fans didn't just enjoy watching the Shield. They believed they were witnessing the future of WWE. As months passed, that belief became reality. The Shield defeated legends, dominated rival factions, and collected championship gold. Roman Reigns developed a reputation as one of the most dominant forces WWE had ever seen. Seth Rollins amazed audiences with breathtaking athleticism and incredible intelligence inside the ring. Dean Ambrose became one of the most unpredictable competitors in the company. Every member contributed something unique, and together they became one of the greatest factions in WWE history. It seemed impossible to imagine one without the others, but success has a dangerous side. The more successful a team becomes, the more individual ambition begins to grow. While the world admired the Shield's unity, cracks slowly started forming beneath the surface. Roman's popularity was exploding. Fans were beginning to see him as the future face of WWE. Seth Rollins noticed it too. Every cheer Roman received became another reminder that he might one day stand in Seth's shadow. Rollins didn't lack confidence. In fact, confidence had always been his greatest strength. He believed he wasn't just good enough to become WWE's biggest star, he believed he deserved it more than anyone else. The problem was simple. As long as the Shield existed, Seth Rollins would always share the spotlight. Then came one of the most important nights in WWE history. Evolution had challenged the Shield in a rivalry that many believed would define the future of the company. Against all expectations, the Shield defeated Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista. They had conquered one of the greatest factions ever assembled. Roman, Seth, and Dean stood in the ring, celebrating what should have been their greatest victory together. The crowd erupted in applause as the three brothers embraced one another. It looked like the beginning of an even greater future. Then everything changed. Triple H walked onto the stage wearing a smile that nobody understood. Seth Rollins slowly picked up a steel chair lying inside the ring. Roman Reigns looked at him without the slightest hint of fear. Why would he? This wasn't an enemy standing behind him. This was his brother, a man he had fought beside for nearly 2 years. Roman never saw the attack coming. Crack! The sound of steel smashing into Roman's back echoed throughout the entire arena. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Roman collapsed to the mat in complete disbelief. Dean Ambrose stared at Seth with confusion, desperately hoping there had been some mistake. There wasn't. Seconds later, Seth drove the chair into Dean's back as well. The Shield was finished. What made that moment unforgettable wasn't simply the betrayal itself. It was Roman's expression. He wasn't just hurt physically, he looked completely lost. The man standing over him wasn't an opponent. It was someone he trusted with his career, someone he considered family. In one single moment, Seth Rollins proved that ambition mattered more to him than loyalty. Triple H applauded from the entrance ramp as Seth stood beside the Authority, choosing power over brotherhood. That single chair shot became one of the most replayed moments in WWE history because it represented far more than the end of a faction. It represented the death of trust. From that night forward, Roman Reigns would never look at Seth Rollins the same way again. Every championship Roman would win, every WrestleMania he would headline, every record he would break. Somewhere in the back of his mind remained the memory of that night. No amount of success could erase it. Seth Rollins never apologized. In fact, he embraced the hatred. He claimed the Shield had become a limitation and insisted he had done what was necessary to fulfill his destiny. To Seth, betrayal wasn't something to regret. It was the smartest decision of his career. To Roman, it was proof that the man he once called brother had chosen glory over loyalty. Neither man realized it that night, but they had just begun one of the greatest rivalries professional wrestling would ever see. Roman Reigns tried to move forward, but moving forward didn't mean forgetting. After the Shield collapsed, both men set out on completely different paths, each determined to prove he was destined to become the face of WWE. Seth Rollins had everything he wanted. He had Triple H standing beside him, the full support of the Authority, and a clear road to the top. Roman, on the other hand, had nothing but his determination and the memory of the man who had betrayed him. Every match Roman fought became another step toward proving that he didn't need Seth Rollins to become great. Yet every victory also carried the weight of unfinished business. The scars left by betrayal don't disappear just because life goes on. Seth embraced the role of WWE's most hated superstar. Fans booed him everywhere he went, but Rollins didn't care. In fact, he thrived on it. He proudly called himself the Architect, reminding everyone that every great empire begins with someone willing to destroy the old one. In his mind, betraying the Shield wasn't an act of cowardice, it was an act of genius. If he had stayed loyal, he believed he would always be remembered as one-third of a legendary faction. By walking away, he gave himself the opportunity to become a legend on his own. Seth wasn't interested in friendship anymore. He wanted power, championships, and a legacy that belonged to him alone. Roman's journey couldn't have been more different. Every week, the pressure on his shoulders grew heavier. WWE clearly saw him as the company's future, but not every fan was ready to accept him. Roman faced criticism, doubt, and constant comparisons to legends who had come before him. Yet through it all, he kept fighting. Unlike Seth, Roman refused to take shortcuts. He believed success meant earning every opportunity, even when the road became painful. Looking back, it's almost poetic that the man betrayed by his brother chose the harder path, while the man who committed the betrayal chose the easier one. As the months passed, both men climbed higher and higher until their paths inevitably crossed again. Every stair between them carried memories that words could never explain. Roman didn't just see Seth Rollins standing across the ring. He saw the man who shattered everything they had built together. Seth, meanwhile, looked at Roman with a mixture of confidence and satisfaction. Every time Roman glared at him, Seth knew something important. He was still inside Roman's head. That psychological advantage became Seth's greatest weapon. Wrestling isn't won by muscles alone. It's won inside the mind long before the opening bell rings. Seth understood Roman better than anyone else because he had shared locker rooms, victories, and dreams with him. He knew exactly which buttons to press. He knew exactly which memories Roman wanted to forget. Every smile, every laugh, every sarcastic remark from Seth reminded Roman of the one thing he could never erase. That chair shot wasn't just history. It was a wound that reopened every single time they met. Then came one of the biggest moments of Seth Rollins' career. At WrestleMania 31, Roman Reigns stood on the verge of finally capturing the WWE World Heavyweight Championship against Brock Lesnar. It was supposed to be Roman's defining moment. The match was brutal. Both men pushed each other to their limits. The crowd watched as Roman prepared to achieve the dream he had spent years chasing. But just when victory seemed within reach, a familiar entrance theme echoed throughout the stadium. Seth Rollins sprinted toward the ring carrying the Money in the Bank briefcase. In one of the greatest cash-ins in WWE history, Seth inserted himself into the match, turning it into a triple threat. Chaos erupted. Roman's dream disappeared in front of his eyes as Seth delivered the curb stomp and pinned Brock Lesnar to become WWE World Heavyweight Champion. It was another heartbreaking chapter in Roman's story. Once again, Seth Rollins had stolen the spotlight. Once again, Roman was forced to watch the man who betrayed him celebrate at his expense. For Seth, it was proof that his decision years earlier had been the right one. He had become the champion because he wasn't afraid to make ruthless choices. For Roman, it was another reminder that Seth always seemed to appear at the worst possible moment. Every time Roman got close to reaching the top, Seth found a way to remind him of the past. Over the following years, both superstars continued building incredible careers. Seth Rollins reinvented himself time after time. Whether he was the architect, the Kingslayer, the Monday Night Messiah, or the visionary, he always found new ways to remain one of WWE's biggest attractions. Roman Reigns evolved as well, but perhaps no transformation in wrestling history was greater than the birth of the tribal chief. Gone was the smiling hero trying to please everyone. In his place stood a cold, calculated ruler who demanded acknowledgement from the entire WWE universe. The tribal chief conquered everyone: Brock Lesnar, Edge, Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes. One by one, they all fell before Roman's historic championship reign. He built the bloodline into the most dominant faction of the modern era and established himself as one of the greatest champions WWE had ever seen. To the world, Roman Reigns looked untouchable, but there was one exception. Whenever Seth Rollins appeared, something changed. The confidence that Roman displayed against every other opponent suddenly looked different. The calm tribal chief became emotional. The unstoppable champion became distracted. It wasn't because Seth was physically stronger than Roman, it was because Seth possessed something no one else had. He possessed Roman's past. No matter how many championships Roman held above his head, Seth could always remind him of the night Roman failed to see the betrayal coming. That memory was something even the tribal chief couldn't defeat. And as SummerSlam drew closer, the WWE Universe began asking the same question once again. Could Roman Reigns finally overcome the one ghost that had followed him for more than a decade? Or was Seth Rollins about to prove, once again, that he would always be the one man Roman could never truly escape? There is an old saying in professional wrestling that your greatest rival isn't the person who defeats you the most. It's the person who understands you the best. For Roman Reigns, that person has always been Seth Rollins. Roman has stood across the ring from monsters like Brock Lesnar, survived wars against John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Edge, Kevin Owens, and countless others. He defeated legends, ended championship reigns, and built an empire known as the Bloodline. Yet none of those opponents could do what Seth Rollins has done time and time again. They couldn't make Roman lose control. They couldn't force him to stop thinking like a champion and start thinking like a betrayed brother. That's what makes Seth Rollins different. He doesn't just fight Roman Reigns. He attacks the man behind the tribal chief. Every smile from Seth, every laugh, every reminder of the Shield, every reference to that steel chair. It's all carefully calculated. Seth knows Roman's greatest weakness isn't physical. It's emotional. Roman spent years convincing the WWE Universe that he had moved on, that he had become stronger because of everything he endured. But whenever Seth appeared, those walls began to crack. Behind the confidence, behind the championships, behind the words, "Acknowledge me," there was still a man who remembered exactly how it felt to trust someone who chose ambition over loyalty. Perhaps that's why their matches have always felt different. When Roman fought Brock Lesnar, it was about dominance. When he fought Cody Rhodes, it was about protecting his legacy. But when he fights Seth Rollins, it's personal. Every punch carries years of frustration. Every stare carries memories of what once was. Every near fall feels like an attempt to rewrite history. Championships may be on the line, but the real prize has always been something much greater. It's the chance to finally prove who was right all those years ago. Seth has never apologized for what happened. In fact, he has repeatedly claimed that betraying the Shield was the smartest decision he ever made. Without that betrayal, he argues, there would be no WWE champion Seth Rollins, no architect, no visionary, no revolutionary who changed the industry. From Seth's perspective, sacrificing one friendship created an unforgettable career. He doesn't see himself as the villain. He sees himself as the man brave enough to make the difficult decision that nobody else was willing to make. Roman sees it very differently. For Roman, success was supposed to be shared with his brothers. The Shield wasn't just another team. It was a family. Families fight. Families argue. But families don't stab each other in the back when victory is finally within reach. Roman never hated Seth because Seth became successful. Roman hated him because Seth destroyed something that could never be rebuilt. Championships can be won again. Careers can be restarted. Legacies can change. But trust, once it's broken, can never be restored. That is why every chapter of this rivalry feels unfinished. There has never been a true ending. Every victory simply creates another question. Every defeat creates another reason to continue fighting. Even after all these years, neither man has truly proven that he is better than the other. Roman has reached heights that very few superstars in WWE history have ever touched. His championship reign redefined an entire generation. Seth Rollins has survived every era by constantly reinventing reinventing himself, proving again and again why he is considered one of the greatest performers of his generation. Individually, both men have built Hall of Fame careers, but together, they have created something even bigger. They have created a rivalry that refuses to die. Now, the road leads to SummerSlam once again. To casual fans, it might look like another huge match between two future Hall of Famers. But longtime WWE fans know better. They know this story didn't begin with a contract signing or a championship announcement. It began over a decade ago when three brothers promised to change WWE forever. Two of them stayed loyal. One of them picked up a steel chair. Everything that has happened since then has simply been another chapter. Roman walks into SummerSlam, carrying the confidence of a man who has conquered almost everyone placed before him. Seth walks in carrying something even more dangerous, certainty. Certainty that he has always been the one opponent capable of making Roman question himself. Certainty that history is on his side. Certainty that no matter how dominant Roman becomes, there will always be one memory he cannot escape. Imagine the atmosphere when both men stand across the ring. The crowd won't just see Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. They'll see the Shield. They'll hear the echo of that steel chair. They'll remember every battle, every betrayal, every stolen championship opportunity, every stare that spoke louder than words. Years of history will collide in a single moment before the opening bell even rings, and that's what makes this match special. It's not just about who wins, it's about who finally lets go of the past. Can Roman Reigns finally defeat the one man who has haunted his entire career? Can he prove that the tribal chief has buried the ghosts of the Shield forever? Or will Seth Rollins once again remind the world that no empire is strong enough to erase betrayal? Only one man will leave SummerSlam with his hand raised. But victory won't erase history. If Roman wins, he'll finally have the chance to silence the man who has lived inside his mind for more than a decade. It won't erase the betrayal, but it may finally give him the closure he has searched for since that unforgettable night in 2014. If Seth wins, it will be the ultimate validation of every decision he has ever made. It will prove that betraying the Shield wasn't the biggest mistake of his career, it was the greatest decision of his life. No matter what happens, this rivalry has already earned its place among the greatest in WWE history. Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, John Cena and Randy Orton. Those rivalries define generations. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins belong in that conversation because their story was never built on championships alone. It was built on friendship, loyalty, ambition, heartbreak, and the consequences of one choice that changed everything. So when the bell rings at SummerSlam, don't just watch two superstars competing for victory. Watch two brothers who never truly stopped fighting. Watch one man searching for forgiveness he may never find. Watch another defending a decision he has never once regretted, because some rivalries end with a winner. Some rivalries end with a loser. But the greatest rivalries never truly end.